Oi, oi, welcome to the new shed. I want to take you through the whole build, the pricing, how we did it all, a lot of the problems, and show you a time lapse through the whole thing. All right, so this was an absolute mission to put up. Not because it's really that difficult, it's just because the instructions from Stratco are absolutely terrible. So the shed is 6 meters by 6 meters. It is from Stratco and it cost us just a little bit over $10,000. So that was just for the kit, not the installation. I think they charged a little bit over $4,000 for their people to come out and install it. And at the end of the video, I might go over whether it's worth spending that $4,000 on their installers. This is where we're up to. Slab is done for the shed. Really happy with this. Still not sure how I feel about the placement of the pipes, but that's what it is now. I've got it hard up in the corner. Roughly the poles should come out here, roller door go in there, and I come up here, but we'll get to that when it gets there. Can start getting stuff out of the house and into the shed. Because obviously I'm starting to come around here and demoing all this, but we also want to start demoing in here and getting this all prepped and ready for the new shell. So I need all this out, all the tools, all the gear, all the doors, plus all this stuff. We've got baths, we've got basins, we've got more doors, and it's just starting to get cramped. So I need all that into the shed. That way we can also start getting plaster, a bit more timber. We've got to get all the furring channel, all the clips, ready to start doing ceilings and all the rest. And this is all we're looking at. It's not a lot really for a whole shed, but I'm gonna make a start, get all the gear out there, see what we're looking at, look at the plans, and see if we can get this up in a couple of days. So I've looked everywhere, opened up all the boxes, I've looked at all the bits and pieces, out the front, out here, can't find the instructions. My last shed came with hard copy pieces of paper with all the instructions. It was actually quite good. It was Stratco as well, but this one had no hard copy instructions. So I did go online, found them on the Stratco website, and what you've got to do is use up to 3 different instructions in accordance with each other. Like, it's all over the place. It doesn't give you full instructions, just really, really brief guidelines. So while using all those, it's sort of using a little bit of common sense and just trying to figure it out. It's sort of trial and error. There was a few places where I would put things together, take them apart, and then do it differently. She's a hot one, but we're getting there slowly. So I want to get this exactly straight because we're putting the sheets on the outside while it's on the ground, then standing it up. And as you can see, there's a bit of a bow. There's less in it now after I've played with it, but they're all the same. So I've loosened off those middle ones, measured the same distance from there to there the whole way. Put the string line on, so it's just on that side of this screw. You can see how far off it's got. It's got to come back to there. So even just by loosening this one here, I can then tighten up that and make sure all these are all good. It's 8:30 in the morning. Sweat. So this is what I've done. We've got the string line, but she is sitting pretty much bang on. Right on that screw. But to achieve that, it just wasn't sitting right, so I've put a bit of cardboard packed on that end, cardboard that end, and then screwed this into the fence. That way I'll tighten all this up, and I'm hoping keep that straightness so that we can then start throwing the sheets on. Painful, but we got there. Time to start putting sheets on. It's I've got these ones, so I've got the little X-Torque kit. It's not a bad one. It's the one. Here we go. Next day, and this is pretty much done, ready to stand up. And we've painted this fence this morning, smashed that out, 2 coats. Because once that's up, I'm not getting in there. So I'm about to drill these holes, put the brackets in. Here's what we're looking at. That's the chemical that goes in the hole, and that goes in after. It's a chemical adhesive which holds these into the concrete. So I'll start off with the mounting points for your main poles. So these are your U brackets that go in, they get drilled in. The measurements on the plans are given for this size slab. I did originally mark them all out, but I didn't drill them because I thought there might have been a bit of movement and I wasn't sure if everything was going to be perfectly right. So I did the front 2, I did those, and then we stood the frames up. So we did the frames on the ground and stood them up. So while my wife held up these walls, she's an absolute machine for doing that. I don't know how she did it, but did really well. I had these sitting inside the column already, and as we stood them up, I pushed them down, made sure it was all straight, hammer drilled them in, and fixed the bolts to the concrete. Then put these other main bars up. So you got 1, 2, 3. I actually got half of those wrong. So when you throw them up, it looks like they can go either way and they are pre-punched. But if you have a look, the holes that are punched are actually a little bit different from end to end. You've got nothing down this end. So I wasn't sure whether you're supposed to put a batten in there, but they came with the spare battens. It's just not punched out. It's just really strange. I did find a picture online that showed it, but didn't talk about it. So I ended up re-drilling those holes, while some, like this one, already had it. So this one is actually the right way around, but this one here needed to be flipped. So we didn't notice that when we first put it up, which is why I had to re-drill them all. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. And then the other part was actually putting these up. On the plans and on a video, it does say to put up that whole bar in one go, which we gave a shot. And with the 2 of us, wasn't that easy. It was actually really difficult and quite scary. So we bailed on that and we ended up putting one at a time. So we put up that bar and then put the other one up. Then it came to that back pole, the back column. We joined it on and then pushed it up because these sat very low, including the middle one, which we had to use the other pole down this end to jack up because this was at a different height. So it didn't talk anything about that, but figured that that being there should be the same height as the other 2. When it came to the garage doors, big shout out to my dad and also Steve from Acuna Plumbing. He dropped in and gave us his 2 cents, gave us a bit of a hand. It was really good because we tried getting up this first one and it was all good, but we loosened off the main pole in the middle, so it was all tight, and then we loosened it off and it just unraveled, which I actually thought might happen because I did that originally with my last shed, but it was quite a while ago that I totally forgot how to install it. Make sure these are really tight. That's after leaving it all wrapped up. The doors come wrapped up, so leave them wrapped up, throw them up, bolt them down, and then put them into the guide. Because once you release those bolts, it will unravel really quick and you'll have a terrible time, just like we did. The second one worked out perfect. We knew exactly what we were doing then, and it took us maybe not even 45 minutes to get it fully in and rolling perfectly. And then once it was in and rolling, we had to tighten it so that it goes up nicely. So as you can see, I'll pull it down quite easily. You don't want it too tight because it'll want to come up itself. We had that problem yesterday, but we fixed that. So now if I pull it up, it's quite easy. It goes up nicely. And so to do that, it was quite easy with 2 people. I did it myself on my first one, but it was a struggle. So we loosened off one side of this and I just hopped on there with a pipe wrench. You hold on to the actual bar, and I had my dad loosen the other end so it wants to unwind, and I just tightened it. It's actually quite scary to do. It's pretty dangerous. Make sure you've got a really good pipe wrench. And as I turned it, pulled it down, got my dad to tighten it at the other end so it didn't let go, moved the wrench again, pulled it down, untightened, tightened, and just gave it a go a few times and it worked out perfect. Yeah, we'll test it, yeah. Down the side, it all worked out really nice. It all came up pretty schmick. I did use string line to do most of the screws. Pipe work came up nice. Hopefully the gutter works. I put a bit of a slant on it, just slightly. I did do all that on the ground, so that's what it says to do. It's up to you. Same on the back. It all fits nicely in that recess. And then down this side, I've got another down pipe, which is all going to be connected up to stormwater down there. Most of the flashing all worked really well. Quite happy with that. I actually did that bit of flashing, cut that. That came up pretty mint. That's my second time. The first time I did it on my last shed, it was quite terrible. And the good thing about this, we got surf mist, which is pretty much like a color that's fully out there. That's the color we've done the fence, and that's the color we're going to do the house. We've also done the other fence over there. It's basically a color bond color, I think. And I could get silicone, paint, you name it, it comes in surf mist. So the silicone actually came up really nice. But here's the rebate down here. So that sits in there nicely. Got that at the back and you've got it down the front. I made a bit of an overhang with the lip there, same at both ends. And all those measurements were on the plan. So that worked out quite good. We gave that plan to my mate Jaden, who did the concrete. And realistically, it came up really well. You can see there's a little bit of a gap down here, but all that's going to be sealed up. I am still trying to figure out what I'm going to do in here. At the moment, this had to go up just so we can get gear out of the house and we can keep doing inside there. It's just become too full, too chaotic. And originally that was the plan, that we would get this done first so that we could keep all materials and gear in here. But with council and engineering, it was a painful process, and months later, we're finally here. So yeah, it will most likely be like the last shed. I am going to put walls up, insulation, aircon's definitely going in this time. I'm also thinking about putting a little office in here because I'm chasing just another office. So I think one of the corners, maybe like a 3x3 size. I'm looking at doing that hexagonal lighting that you see in car showrooms. I don't know if it's worthwhile doing that or not. I wanted to do that in the last house, but it was just, or in the last shed, but it was just way too small. So if anyone's got really good ideas for some flash lighting for in here, that would be spectacular, hit me up. So I really do highly rate the build quality of the shed. I just don't rate the installation if you're gonna do it yourself. I could probably do it up a lot quicker now, but for the first time, it is quite difficult because of that instruction problem. So if you are looking at getting a Stratco shed, definitely keep that in mind. So this one is a 6x6, all up, $10,000, a little bit over 10,000. Also, the slab is 5,000, so you're looking around $15,000. And apparently for them to install it is $4,000. So you're pretty close to the 20 grand at that point. But if you want to get it done in a couple of days, then I think it's the way to go with Stratco, especially if you don't have the people, the manpower, and the tools and equipment. So things like hammer drills, cutting tools, ladders. Ladders was a big one. I didn't have enough ladders, so Dad came around with an extra one. And just the overall stress of figuring it all out. I think that 4 grand is quite worth it, but I think they might be making it hard so that you spend that 4 grand, if that makes sense. That's definitely the way I'm seeing it. But let me know what you think, guys. Am I spot on with that? Or maybe I'm just really bad at installing sheds. Also, I'm in the middle of doing the update video for the whole renovation. There's quite a few things to run through and to edit. So as you can see out here is looking pretty good, but that will be one of the next videos. Cheers, guys.